Hi there, welcome to this IQ and SoundCzech focus on the Czech Republic, where we're going to go through, obviously, it's an extraordinary year and we can't avoid that. So we will talk about the impact that COVID has had on the Czech scene. But we're not here to talk about that, really. We're here to talk about the Czech scene and the fact that over the last few years, certainly, it's been making a bigger impression on the international stage with some exciting developments. And it does feel like it's unfortunate timing that that COVID has come now, but obviously we'll look into some of that and see how people have managed to still be creative and then move forward to what happens afterwards and the things that have to be overcome during this period. We're very lucky. We've got an artist called Floex, Thomas, coming in to talk about his experiences. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, and then David, who's set up Smack You Promotion, and Barbara from United Islands Metronome Festival, and Marton from SoundCzech. So perhaps hello everybody. Good to see you all. Perhaps if we could start off just going around asking you to introduce yourselves, but also while you do it, if you could compare what you're up to now at this moment and what your life looked like 12 months ago, so that we get a sense of how the situation has changed for you over the last 12 months. Perhaps we'll start with you, Barbara.
Very nice to be here. Distance hello to everybody who is watching and hearing us. My name is Barbora Šubrtová. I'm a booker and head of program of Metronome Festival and recently also United Islands Festival, both nature events, open air events held in Prague. I'm working in music, I would say, for over 12 years or something, and maybe more, 15, and past 12 years for United and Metronome Festival from its very first year. And usually in this time of the year, I would be booking like hell and going all around all the festivals, conferences, showcases. Unfortunately, we are all probably in the same place. So now I'm trying to rebook what has been booked for 2020. And since it doesn't take that much time, I decided to use my spare time to go back to the university. So I'm spending a lot of these days by studying, but I'm looking forward to come back to the shows again. So that's very short of me, maybe about Metronome Festival. Metronome is our biggest open air festival in Prague. And for example, the past year headliners were Massive Attack, and Brothers, Sting, or David Byrne. So that's so much about me and the festival in short.
Yeah, it is a very impressive festival, but we'll come back and talk more about that in a minute. So I'm seeing you with David next. So if people don't mind, I'll just follow around what I'm seeing. Not sure everyone sees the same thing here, but David, perhaps you could tell us a bit about yourself and also how your life has changed over the last 12 months. Did you hear David? Hello?
Yes, I got problem. Yeah. I really, it was difficult to hear Bara at the end. Yeah. Now you hear me, everyone?
I can hear you. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. So I work in this sort of industry for almost 30 years. So regarding Czech Republic and the turnout into normal system in 1989, I'm quite a veteran already, and I've been like doing shows in Prague mainly on 200 capacity cafe bar up to 10,000 capacity arenas, bringing Marilyn Manson, Part of Stellar, Pixies, Queens of Stone Age, bands like this. Also, of course, because we do a lot of shows during a year, I do cooperate with festivals in Czech Republic or Slovakia. the main Czech Republic I'm working currently, it's Rock for Churchill. And I used to work with Rock for People and with Planet Festival, and almost used to work with everyone here in this country. And in Slovakia, we co-owning Grape Festival, which is nice festival. In our perspective, quite a big, for almost 25 tickets we sold last year. I still consider it like nice and small. And in this time, probably as Bara, I would be dealing with booking or finalize the booking for next year, because majority of agencies would be closed probably next week. And I would finalize extremely busy year. Probably I checked what I did last year. I did the groups show on the December 10th, and the year before I did Jon Blomqvist live in Roxy. And usually in 1 week, in months like November, I have like 20 shows per week. So this time it's changed significantly, and I'm doing lessons with my kids. Yeah, we do like school lessons, and I got better in kitchen, preparing the food, etc. Because my wife is going to job, and I'm doing the rest, and which is quite a nice, but at least very helpful. And then 1 or 2 hours a day I'm reschedule it, and doing backup for the backup and for the backup. So the bands we already announced, like Youngblood, which is almost sold out next November. That's already show number 4. We announced the show number 4. Before we announced it was rescheduled again. And it's all the time. I'm like even small Cafe Vlese shows. We had to postpone, and suddenly I am in autumn 2021 with backup numbers 3 or 4. So
let's hold some of that, because I want to come back into that. But it is, just it's phenomenal how many bookings. You were like 20 plus a week. So that must be such a huge difference for you. But also it's amazing how similar your life is to people's lives across the world at the moment, because it's the same thing for everybody.
Yeah. It's there's no reason to be changed. It's the same. I'm not 100% sure. This, like, people in general have the same life, because you still can make some job which does have outcome. You have at least feedback, either like feedback from people, they like the show, your bank account got feedback. You don't have this.
So I keep moving around the screen as I can see it, at least. So Marton, can you introduce yourself, please, and tell us a bit about what?
Hello, hi everyone. It's really great to see all of you. I'm Marton Naray. I'm a Hungarian minority living in Czech Republic, and being honored to work for Czech music scene. And I'm the head of SoundCzech, which is the music export office for Czech Republic that works with Czech artists, and also we work to link the Czech music sector to international peers. Also, we are having lots of education programs, and in short, as of personally, I'm working in also for music for 20-something years. I started from small venues. I worked for Sziget Festival and many others. I still work with one event in Hungary, but that's not the cause of this discussion. Which is, I think, for us quite important. Last year, for instance, at that time, after some health struggles, I was wondering what would be the best way to cut down the numbers of showcase events, at least that I personally attend, because last year it was somewhere around 30 per whole year, with some European projects that we had involved and so on. And at this time, actually, I was escaping to my mother's place, and I was going after a really, really long time to spend some time with my 2 children, and I was putting my hand together. So once again, promising that I'm going to do a bit better and I'm not going to fall apart by the end of the year of all the events. I think this prayer was listened at some point, because you really couldn't go anywhere. And the difference for us as of an export office, that we have several programs. And other than might be the link soon, which is the link for the music industry as a music industry database. You can see there are lots of contacts from service companies to festivals to promoters, bands, artists, so on. But for us, we were, as of many of the export offices, focusing on helping bands to get to showcase events, also helping with live touring and so on. So and last year and the years before, we were already thinking about, okay, we should branch out, because there's a significant part of music that is not really focused on, which is to go on digital, gaming, recording industry, and so on. And well, once again, this plan kind of boosted this year, because then in March we saw that most of the programs will not be able to go along, and we started to also reprogram everything. We tried to put up programs that would be able to help Czech professionals and also bands the way that they can still stay at home. So we changed many of the programs, like creating live video recordings that we are doing now, or having mentoring sessions. Actually, David is one of our beloved mentors, and we get really good feedbacks from that project as well. And for real. Other than this, we are thinking which other ways we can help the bands and artists that are stuck at home. So we are working on a co-creation grant to create songs together with other international artists and have the Czech ones for costs on studio cost and their own time, and at least to go take the promotion from live event up to other, until the time being, till the second part of next year, maybe.
Cool. Thank you, Martin. And Thomas, Floex, can you tell us a bit about yourself, please? And also, obviously, how things have changed, and particularly, well, yeah, no, I'll come up with follow-up questions. But yeah, introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. My name is Tomáš, and I have musical project called Floex, and it's about, I think, more like 20 years I'm doing music like that. So it's quite a time, and my major instrument I started with is clarinet, but it turned out very soon into some kind of electroacoustic music, and I was always not only into releasing music on albums, which I think is on the other hand really important to keep this path. And if you see my career, I always try to kind of be aware, not to kind of forget about my music, but also I was always interested in other things. One of them is like multimedia work, because I actually studied visual art school. So lots of like interactive stuff and stuff like that. And I think maybe through this, I got into also gaming industry. So I do music for games as well, but recently also like music for movies and stuff like that. I work a lot with Czech-based company Amanete Design, which does some kind of art games, I could say. Yeah. And we work together for more like 15 years. So it's one of the things, it's just kind of significant. People, I think, especially abroad, know me for that. But I would say like for the last year, I was thinking they are quite the same as Marton when he was kind of describing his situation. Because I'm maybe not totally typical, because as I said, I don't do only like album concerting, and it has its pros and cons. I would say like the positive thing is that I have more things, and I also happy to do that, and I have fun with it. But also on the other side, I'm not so focused on, for example, concerting. So I don't concert so much, and it means also I don't have such a large audience when we do live concerts. But
Does that mean you didn't have? I mean, for most artists, they had for most people in the industry, they had a horrible few weeks around spring. In the UK, it was in March.
Yeah.
Quite a few, where suddenly all of your concerts and events over the next 18 months started being cancelled. Did you not have that experience, or?
I mean, actually, I had, because at that time we planned lots of concerts for this year, and by the way, we built this. It's here. I have this robot, if you can see in the background. Yeah. It's actually a drumming robot which we built for the new show, and we had actually about maybe 2 or 3 shows with. He's called Josef. It's from one of the projects, a game called Machinarium. Right. So we had a kind of big plan for 2020, and we had to cancel that. It's just, of course, a big shame. But on the other side, I had lots of commissions to do this year. I did music for the movie, full-featured movie. I did a whole new game, and I did sound design for major state radio and many other things this year. And for me, it was kind of relief that I have more kind of time in the studio. As Marton was describing his situation with 30 showcase festivals to go, it's kind of similar for me. So I haven't been so much influenced by the situation on the existential point. But of course, I have many friends of mine who are struggling, and really bad situation for my management and booking, who are constantly scheduling the shows and postponing. As you know, I don't need to explain it. It's a very common situation for everybody.
No, for sure. But have you, through, you've obviously been working with Amanita Design for a long, long time, a decade and a half. But has there been new developments during this period, things that have happened? I mean, certainly there's been developments happening within virtual reality that happened, but because of COVID, they've accelerated and happened more quickly. Have you had any of that experience? Things that might have been a positive result? Actually,
not really, because first of all, projects by Amanita, it takes many years to finalize, so it's already like kind of flow, and they do new projects, and I should work on something next year, but it will always take many years, and so it's not so. It's always planning in years, not just that we would something change in this situation. But I actually worked on 2 new games out of Amanita this year, which is for me a breakthrough, because I never did before. But people started to kind of approach me with other projects because they know me for my soundtracks, and it's really nice because it's usually some, projects made worldwide. So it's interesting experience, new experience for me to work on something different.
And do you, I mean, from looking from the outside, and I know the Czech scene reasonably well, but I'm still very much outside it. It does seem that there's opportunities for people to work from music into different art forms, and that there's quite a big scene. I'm thinking people like 8Kid and so on. Is that a scene that you feel is a kind of part of the makeup of the Czech music scene?
Yes, I think we will probably speak about it more, but I actually think that I'm really excited what's happening at the moment on Czech scene. There is like a whole new generation. I'm already old school. I'm 42, so, but I'm very much into exploring what's happening, and I think it's at the moment it's really like brilliant. So I'm kind of very proud, and people offer exploring new possibilities. So I think it's really good at the moment here.
That's great. Is Barbara back with us at the moment? Can you hear us? Barbara, can you hear us?
It still seems she's
a bit frozen.
Yeah, a little bit.
I thought this would be a good time to talk about Metronome if we could, because of the cross-platform art approach. But okay, never mind. David, obviously, I mean, you went from having this incredible amount of gigs. I assume you must have gone through that horrible period when suddenly you just saw years and years worth of work just disappearing. Not only work in the future, but work you've already put into. How do you deal with that?
Well, I try to not make shit over myself. I try to stay stable, and okay, I'm not 100% like in danger because the money, but it's like mentally it's really difficult, because you used to work really like hard, like in quite a sort of speed, and suddenly you really have to, you are become like quiet, like really mute. And that's the most difficult part, is that you really like work, you set up your work into wind, and there's nothing it's coming out of it. Yeah, so that's the difficult part. But otherwise I just try to keep sane and try to keep the same sort of company. Of course, we had to lay out some people. We cannot stay, because we would not be able to finance everybody. But if in case this next summer it's safe, we are fine, and we can take it. It can be really interesting experience. If the summer's not gonna be safe, I believe it's gonna be more difficult. But what I see around me, like, people are really suffering.
Yeah, I mean, have you shifted dates back several times so that you've moved
Yes.
the date that was?
Usually 3-4 times.
Yeah,
Backup number 4, it's quite a common.
yeah. And you're working a lot of the time with the same venues. So how are they coping with having these artists shift?
Well, they have to be the same way like I do, because they don't have. There's no other option. If you are not allowed to do shows, you try to, and you prepare a program for a certain period of time. Let's say April, and suddenly maybe April is not gonna happen as well. April 21, you have to shift it. We are on the same ship. It's the same artist, artists. Maybe some of the artists are probably desperate to come on the tour to make some money. It doesn't matter if it's like Czech artists, local artists, or international artists. They have certain commitments, from certain age, probably like old guy like Tomáš here, Floex, they already have some like family commitments, whatever, and responsibility, and they have to deliver.
And has there been, because obviously it's an international thing and you're working internationally, have you found it easy to have international cooperation? And is there also cooperation regionally to so that you can coordinate things between?
Well, there's actually like everybody just postponing and doing backups. There's in how like Bára told, like they did the festival on or like in Září. The same things, like the venue I cooperate with, like Lucena Music Bar, opened the venue before that, probably similar space with capacity. Like, okay, you could fit 2,500 people probably there, but legally it was 1,000. And they did maybe like 30 shows per 1,000 people over the summer.
Yeah.
And that's probably doesn't happen around Europe, as far as I know. It was quite unique, but you could do it with local artists only. Yeah. That's you can cooperate something. You could do events for 1,000 people, like small festivals. They could still go on. Yeah. I am managing or booking one band, and we had quite a few shows, but half of them we couldn't come because the singer was in quarantine because he met someone. So we got actually 2 shows only on this local level, like, and so basically, unless you can really safely travel without danger, you would cross border and you would have to go quarantine again or whatever. There's you don't have so much space to cooperate, with something or dates, etc. So I'm quite skeptical that unless we are vaccinated on a certain level, there's nothing gonna happen.
And are there any predictions from any of you when things might begin to get back into a more normal routine in the Czech Republic?
Yeah, I think from my point of view, like doing live shows, etc., I think we can start to do small shows in May, hopefully June, and hopefully we can go like theaters or 3,000-4,000 smaller arenas in autumn. That's my predictions. Maybe festivals up to 5,000 people could happen. Maybe 20,000. Depends how we gonna be vaccinated and everything.
I think the same. I think when it gets to festivals, it should be for my prediction would be the second part of summer, when it gets, of course, bigger ones, and the smaller could start earlier. I hope. I mean, it's not just prediction; it's rather a hope than a prediction, to be honest.
The same here.
And actually, I was thinking while you were speaking that how funny it is, and both what Tomáš you were saying and David you were saying, that it's somehow like music was always linked to constant reshaping, and coming up with new ideas and implementing new art forms and so on. And we are at the point where we are pushed to do that. Like you cannot do anything else, and so drastically. I mean, like as of a hobby or something, side activity I was doing for ages. I'm still production for some festivals, which I love to do, because that's the real activity, real life, not just sitting in an office, but actually be there on site and help and work. And many of our colleagues started to do different other jobs. They were like going to be a driver for Ocean or whatever companies. And some of them were thinking about, okay, we're going to do that until a certain time, and when we can, we will come back. But as the time passes, it's much less likely that they will come back, because they want to stay with the sure thing. But of course, we are all doing it for love. Everyone, I think, is in it there's no way to keep someone away of this. But opened a bit my eyes as the year started, and there were the first tries of showcase events digitally and conferences. That the format, how these events were working when we can physically meet each other, are absolutely different than what you can do on a digital space. And it was so interesting to see the first ones who were trying basically to stream everything as they planned that originally, like huge panels, 40-minute showcase concerts, and so on. And then you can see that the showcase concert slots are shrinked, and working on much more on the quality. So if you're a booker, promoter, so on, you can really get the best essence of that band. So you can still actually work like this way. And the other aspect of that was that we could see, as of the 30 showcase concerts of last year where we've been, it was already a tendency that everyone has as much as possible of the same, and name it showcase concerts and and it's kind of an unstoppable train. It was in a sense. And I think now we are getting back to the point that this kind of success could be reached through other means as well. So you don't have to have a showcase concert necessarily, or a conference. You don't have to push the same speakers to speak about exactly the same things in every single town, where you can actually do it digitally and can try to focus on a bit different aspects.
Yeah. Do you think there's things that will come out of this which are going to stay? I mean, things like that people can access from home. A whole load of, you don't have to go to wherever it is in Holland or France or wherever it is to access some of that. Obviously, not everything, but some of that.
Yeah, I mean, about the balance, I don't mean that it's pointless, because it's not. It's very, very valuable for all. But after a while, when it gets kind of rather like a reflex, of that's how we go and we meet the same people. Of course, now we need to meet each other, so that's we are on the other side of the whole aspect. But I believe that it will bring some innovation in the whole showcase and conference structure. Then maybe less of those, and some in balance with some digital events could help. And the other thing that Tomáš mentioned, which I do think is really important, that music sector kind of, or what I've seen, started to be very old, or old in terms of mentality-wise old. And I'm the same age as Tomáš. I'm gonna be 43 very soon, and it's the same. I feel old in sense that the part of the sector is not actually linked to what the actual young people are interested and focused at. And now as we stop, we have a bit more time to also look into those areas as well. That so who is thinking of the TikTok generation? Because in few years they will be the ones who are actually concert buyers, like actual ticket buyers. And we have like a live music sector that didn't yet focus on that and not yet prepared for that level of communication. Maybe it's food for thought, but that's what I think.
Great, very interesting. Now, I wanted to talk to Barbara about, because I think some of the solutions that they had to come up with were quite inventive. But we also, I'm aware of time, so maybe we should. I mean, we're here to talk about the Czech scene, not just about the effect of COVID on the Czech scene. So maybe we can come back when we've got her back into the panel. But yeah, so
if I can add something to what Marton says very shortly, just quickly, like I think it brings my like into my mind question of like art in general. What's the like meaning of art in society? And I think this time is, for me, like personally, really the most important thing about the time regarding art is like it's big test of meaning of art and culture in society. And I think it's, for me, really interesting to kind of observe, I think, about it, because it goes from very extreme, at the moment, at least in Czech Republic, it goes into really extreme kind of approaches by different people. Like from, on one point, like, you know, the artist has been glorified like some celebrity or whatever, something more than other people, which I don't think it's true, of course. And on the other side, it was like something what we don't need at all, like something what we can live without, which is now being tested. I actually think it's really important. I don't think like artists are something like extra, but I think culture is something that defines humanity, and artworks are something what is like tip of the iceberg. So for me, it's like saying that human is only like eat, sleep, work, repeat, you know, and I don't think it's what humanity is about. So for me, this time is especially about testing these values, what we are as humans and what culture means in society. So sorry, that's all I wanted to say. What came into my mind when Marton was speaking about it.
It's a really good point, and in fact, Marton and I were talking about something similar last night, which is what is the role of music in the recovery as we come out of COVID? Where does music sit in that, you know, necessary program that's going to have to come about? So I mean, we can talk about that now if you want. I was going to talk about it later on, but yeah, I mean, what is the role of music as COVID rescinds and we come out of the pandemic? And obviously it's had a massive effect on all of our culture and all of our economies.
Just one thing echoes in my ear, which is, I don't know where I heard, so I'm sure it was a panel and so on, but and also through articles, that after the 2008 economic crisis, the European live music sector was such a strong economic asset that it really helped the recovery. That means that, and I'm not speaking just about, of course, the live music sector, but generally that the creative industries are so important that this is something to really focus on in order to bring it back. And it sounds like a legislative point of view or whatever, but I mean, I do it because I love it. I do believe that this is the way to go on economic level, on human, on private, on mental health level, on every. I think this is the way to focus, and yeah, I think we can speak long about what might be the way back and which are the levels, because we can step back and can look at what have we been done, which are the right size of events, what are the right ways or means, and so on. We can change.
If anyone's got anything to add, please do. But I'm just wanting to ask Barbara a question because you can hear us now. Are you back?
Sorry, I'm finally back. I don't know, maybe everybody else came to this building and connected to the internet, so it just went down completely. I'm sorry, but I'm back now.
I'm very glad to have you back. We wanted to know a bit because you're obviously you had to. Well, tell us about your experience with Metronome, because you had to cancel and then move, but then also the way that you then approached it was really inventive. It'd be good to hear about that.
Yeah, it was very hectic with Metronome this year, as we were supposed to have a 5th year, quite an anniversary for a young festival. For us it was, and on February we announced an extra day adding to the festival for Thursday. It was in February, and like 2 weeks after that basically came all the lockdown restrictions, and it was becoming very clear that we will have to move the festival. So in March we did move it to September, to very soon find out that even in September we won't be able to move to actually do the festival with the international lineup. So we had to move international acts again to 2021 to June. Now we will see if this will be possible, or if it will be my 5th time moving the same lineup. And instead of like canceling the festival completely and moving it to 2021, we decided to make this event in September. I have heard David for a little while talking about it a little more and about what music bar did at the same venue. So we decided to move the Czech version, or the Czech part of the lineup, at Slovakian acts who were able actually to come in September, and to organize this event as something for the fans, for the bands as well, but for the music community too, because for these 3 weeks we gave opportunity for many people to get back to their jobs, from runners to, I don't know, light designers, whatever. And it was very difficult at one point to, of course, follow all hygienic rules and restrictions regarding mass gatherings. But we did it, and we saw that some people really did appreciate it. But on the other hand, I have to admit, we also saw and experienced that many people were really afraid to come to the show. Even it was open air, even the space was really great, so you could have like couple meters on your own without touching anybody else. But people still were very considerate, and even friends of bands didn't come to their gigs. So I think this illustrates the situation as well very, very much.
Great, thank you. Well, I think we've done COVID, so let's talk about the Czech music. And a general question, so whoever feels like answering this, but we're here to talk about the Czech music scene to people that might not know anything about it. So would one of you like to give an introduction to the Czech scene, to some of the acts? It strikes me that, I mean, I've known Czech acts and I've been over to Prague for the last 15 years or something like that, and I've met a huge diversity in terms of genres, and even when you get people who have similarities. So I was thinking about Noisy Pots and Bratry, who, if you describe their setup, they're incredibly similar, and they sit within the same genre, but actually their sounds are really quite different. So I was kind of wondering where that sort of diversity of sound comes from, and if you can describe the scene, what makes up the scene within Czech Republic as a whole, but also within the different cities.
Wow, that's always a very heavy question, and I think all should add and open the mic in case you have to something to add. One very important. Well, Czech Republic is a very strong has a very strong musical culture dated from classical music, and you can see the jazz scene, how strong it is. And I'm a Hungarian, so I'm looking at it as an expat point of view, and of course, getting more and more in love with music, and also. Other than this, very, very strong live music culture when it got to actually club cultures and venues and also generally, and please correct me if you have something to add there, but what I've seen from the SoundCzech point of view, from a Hungarian point of view, when I came in, that when there were some supporting projects or supportive projects for musicians and for music sector, we felt like there was a huge reluctance on getting involved with public, money, because the people got really used to do it DIY, everything DIY, very, very strong scenes on electronic music, on punk rock, the jazz scene itself, and so on. And I think this speaks for itself, also speaks for itself, and some of the people or readers doesn't know that, for instance, Czech Republic, we're having, and I hope it will be the future as well, but at some points, like more than 400 summer festivals. I mean, like you take a country of like around 10 million people and you see 400 summer festivals, and you didn't even count the local village festivals that are actually happening. And you see like 2/3 of them stays alive, or half of them goes bankruptcy, and then the next year, new names again, 400 again. So this, I think, speaks for itself. Also, which is quite important when you go in, it's in the middle of Europe. So the service industry is so strong, where you get like all the touring services, backline, really, really high quality on that. So if you're like an artist flying into Czech Republic, it's absolutely a perfect place to start. And another aspect, that melancholic and really nice, sensitive music, for me, that was also one of the key elements, that we found so many this melodic and kind of atmospheric field of musicians that are creating enormously like different and unique music than we found somewhere else. Please add points. And yes, one last one, because you mentioned Bracci. Please, if you are there, people vote for Bracci. They are at the Music Moves Europe Talent Awards, and I think if some of the Czech bands, they are one of the very sure that deserves to have that award.
Definitely. Anybody want to come in on that?
Maybe me. I just add something more from the historical cultural point of view, because as Marton said, Czech Republic is quite a small country, and also it has been isolated for a long time due to communism and so on. So I think, like, if I would like to describe Czech scene, like including music, but you can see it also like historically in the art, it's never been like a place for the big movements. And like in the communistic time, they even didn't know what's happening. So it was more like parallelity, but it was always, because of also like small size of the country, more about like individual weirdos, original figures who did something really interesting, which was out of the context, basically, maybe even of the world context. So it goes for the art, maybe from 60s till the revolution. You can see like there, you can really describe some strong movement which would reflect something what was happening in Europe, but some really interesting people, like some individual figures who did this. And I think it's quite same for the music, even like nowadays, because of course there will be people who try to be reflecting something that's happening like on the world music scene, but it's usually not so interesting. It's more like periphery problem or syndrome of Czech Republic. Some people want to be like, somebody. But then you have some another layer here of like individual people who are very like original, and you can't really define it's part of some movement. Like in Czech Republic, there would be some no, I don't know what scene, but it's more like I think most interesting people are those kind of individuals who do something quite original and different and out of kind of context, and I'm still here, I would say. So I think this is what I value like Czech scene the most for at the moment, and what I would like go for even nowadays.
Yeah,
that's it.
No, does anyone? Because I think that's really interesting. And especially the comments around the DIY culture, because everybody is so different. So even if they belong in a genre where you go, yeah, I know that genre. The first acts that I worked with was Hentai Corporation, and there is no other act in the world like Hentai Corporation. So it does seem to be this kind of drive to be unique and different in some ways, even when they're doing very comparable things. So that's an interesting part of the psyche, maybe. Certainly, I guess, as you say, under the communist regime, there was a whole underground culture that existed entirely outside of any kind of musical economy or outside of any official venue or label, and thrived under its own terms. It therefore was very, very local. In terms of sorry, does anybody want to say some more on that before?
Maybe.
Okay.
Go ahead, dude. Okay, I just want to follow this, that I think we still keep this division we got from communists. There is on one hand really great part of independent, alternative, great musicians and authors, which is loved by a certain amount of people, but on the other hand, also following not so nice heritage from the communism. There is a big part of music which, doesn't have any, I would say, purpose or, inner meaning, and it's still used the same way, just to fill up some blank spaces, I would say. And we still keep this, and you can see it also on the festivals you've been mentioning before. That if you take a major or mainstream music in the UK or Western from Czech Republic, you can see on the lineup something also brave and independent, but in Czech, I would say that the mainstream is still very, very much afraid of the alternative and independent scene.
So, David, did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah, basically, I would just underline what Forsten Tomáš has said, that you cannot see like something like really like movement with some certain ideas, but you could always see individuals, and that's even in the 70s with bands like Plastic People of Universe and so on, and kept going through 80s. And maybe if this would be collected, could be like really interesting to have this like bits of the scene, what happened. It's like you would come Detroit and you suddenly hear like punk bands on the same level like Stooges, but no one ever heard about them, or some like rock and roll band from Turkey. So that's that sort of stuff. And I think there have been a lot of really interesting artists in the 90s, and since there was like freedom coming up and more young people being influenced, it's getting wider and wider, and suddenly you have like a bunch of 20-year-old kids, and they know how to play, and they really stuck together. So that's how the scenes is developing. So it's not 100%. I would not say movement, but it's flourishing. It's definitely it's stream. Yeah, and also the same happening with the music scene, like with organizing the live shows. Like during the last 10 years, there's 10 times more shows, like international shows, in Prague than it used to be. There's a lot of competitions, really heavy competitions, and you have also a lot of kids who studying the same way I have started in the 90s, doing also shows, bringing new bands, like person I would not probably reach because lack of public. and also the same happening on infrastructure, like Marton tell that you can come to Prague and you can hire equipment, but you can you have a lot of equipment companies, and the bands from America fly to Europe, and they hire the stuff from people like Nomads and Fluff or whatever, and these people go with them, and suddenly they have like 10 vans and like stock full of equipment, etc. So it's really flourishing, and I'm deadly sure in 2-3 years we're gonna be back, like everybody else. No one knows how it will start. If suddenly there are gonna be so many people try to play notes, so it's gonna be finished in inferno. But when it's probably not gonna working. But when it's gonna stabilize nicely, and I think people need live shows, and we're gonna be back in.
It's funny, actually, David, when you're saying this, because it just reminded me to one story that I had, and it was like 15 years ago and so on, or we were working for another office and coming to Prague from Budapest, and I was driving and started on the radio, and the radio was Radio Jedna, Radio 1, which is like a very strong legend, actually, of Czech underground, and they are really a great radio. And it was early morning, and at that time I used to work for a radio station occasionally, and at that time it was already like this computer programming. I don't know they were basically machine-made music, everything like according to charts and so on, and you loaded at the machine in the morning, and then it was going for the whole week, actually, as it is. So, and in the radio it was experimental minimal electro. And it was, I don't know, like Tuesday, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock is the prime time. And I was like, okay, so, oh my God, this is really something, and on the radio it was saying which DJ is playing. And I was absolutely amazed and inspired, like, oh yes, this is still there. And it goes back to the, somehow the feeling that I hope it's kind of, it's wishful thinking, let's say that we are heading towards that era again, where the people who are still doing everything with love and for love are staying, and kind of a replay of how those years of absolute, hype and excitement were. And I'm really hoping that this is where we are aiming, in, of course, a bit more digital format. And
I agree in this with Martin, that I feel like with some people from the younger generation doing their own shows and parties and producing new music, that this vibe we had in Czech for me, what I can recap, the end of the 90s and early 2000, it was just endless joy of music and freedom, and sharing it all with not people just from Czech Republic, but all the foreigners coming to live here and spend here the time. And nothing would be better as an outcome from all this horrible situation is going back to this authenticity and living the music and the culture and the scene again, all together with this feeling we all remember, I think.
Great. And actually, I mean, it's from all over the world, music venues have been suffering, obviously in this time, but before that. But it seems like the music venue culture in the Czech Republic is pretty healthy. There's, from the times that I've been visiting, there's new venues have opened up, and venues with quite different characters as well. But I do slightly worry that when people come to the Czech Republic, they go to Prague and they go to one part of Prague and they don't actually see the broader culture. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I do, kind of get the feeling that some of the music is missed because people aren't seeing, I suppose, the more alternative venues.
Just to add there, unfortunately, of course, the venues are very, very heavily hit. Mm-hmm. Brutally, and I really wanted to have like the hope, the hope there There are some support programs which is going. I truly hope that this will help at some point for the venues as well. But once again, it goes back, unfortunately, to the DI. And this level, it's an unfortunate thing, because when you're building a venue that has daily costs, even if you don't open the door, you have to have some solutions. And sooner or later, it gets unbearable. And of course, it depends on the venue size. That also means going back to the time that the small venues are more likely that will be able to reopen, and the ones that had actually the bigger costs will face bigger trouble. I truly hope that we can help some point, and at least help to lobby to have different programs and get some, I don't know, European money or whatever that could help actually. Good thing is that there were reduction of ticketing VAT. Sorry to come with the dry facts, but actually that in fact helped the scene.
Good. I suppose so. We're actually coming up to the last 5 minutes now. So let's end with looking forward and things that you have coming up over the next year, and things that you think we can look forward to happening within the Czech scene as we come out of the pandemic, hopefully. If anybody wants to go first, or I'll choose somebody. Barbara, tell us about what you have coming up.
Okay, so we are all looking forward to get back again. So I hope that we will find some way how to get back to organizing the shows and the festivals. Actually, at this moment, I'm not really sure if we will be gonna be able to do Metronome in June next year, but anyway, looking forward that even some smaller events, if there will be limited capacities, will be able to be held, and that we will slowly, I wouldn't say go back, because I think it's a good opportunity to change it and go forward differently that we did until now, but that we will come back to meet each other again at the venues, at the shows. And I'm so looking forward that this tough year we all had will change the world of business as such, and that we have probably all realized that it's not all about the money anymore, because if you can't do anything, then even the money can't help, and that we can come back to do it, for the music. I don't want to sound like idealistic fool, but I still have this that the prices of everything doesn't have to double every year, and that we can do it properly, so everybody has a profit and some joy of it. So that's my wish for next year, I would guess.
Great, thank you. And one Czech act that people should know about.
I would say I'm a great fan of Bratři for a long time, since their beginning. So I am sending their votes, and I encourage people to do the same. And I think generally electronic music in all its form is a great asset in Czech music business. So go ahead and check other Czech acts as well.
Totally agree. Thomas, can we go to you? What's happening for your horizon?
Okay. Sorry. For me, it's kind of year. Actually, I had some delay with this, so I may be echoing the COVID situation, but I think next year will be for me more personal. So I want to focus on my own kind of projects, and hopefully we will be able to start doing some shows with Robot. But as already Marton mentioned, for me, like the worry is a little bit like if there will be places to play, because I'm already like seeing many important clubs which were like really important for decades here, like they are dying. So I think that it has to be some refresh or restart, definitely, for the whole scene. So it's something that I'm looking for. Hopefully there will be also positive aspects.
And one act
so
that people should go and check out.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about the band Noisy Pods, because the drummer also plays with me live, so I have a very strong connection, and I also like their new stuff, their new singles. So
Brilliant. David, how about you?
I can basically underline both speakers, both panelists. Okay, I would love to be idealist as Bara, and I think we deserve the different approach. Unfortunately, I don't think so. It's gonna happen. But maybe I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong, and I think we will manage. We will overcome. And if somebody goes unfortunately down, like I think it's gonna be sad, but that's gonna be replaced by 10 other. And if I should, that's a tricky question. Which bands I would recommend? I would go for the Atavist.
Great, thank you. Now, Marton, if you want to just do the last.
Well, I hope David is not true. I hope he's not right with that, and I try to be as well quite idealist in this sense. I think there are many programs that could be started. It's pretty much a perfect time for looking inwards as well as like how united we are as a music sector, how well we are able to reconnect to the others and put aside egos and these kind of plays and games and be focused for something to be built. If there are no venues, new venues has to be done or help to be. I think if the money is a bit down, it helps sometimes, and it might be the case for us in the future. But I believe, and I think Czech Republic will be okay in the future. I hope. I see how the live music scene is working, and I think it will be okay. In terms of bands, I will not say any because I love many, and I would immediately feel that why I didn't say the other. Also, I mean, there's from from Please the Trees to Kristina Barta to so many TP and so on. Start like, sorry? And Floex. Sorry?
You are covered. Sissy.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, but there are so many actually. Oh, yes, electronic music. One of the weirdest. And if you're thinking of weird Czechs, you have to look at one FLF soap, which is, you have to check one FLF SOAP. And it's an absolutely crazy live electro band. I have booked them also to a Hungarian event. And if you know, then you have to check what their name means, because that tells a lot about being weird in Czech Republic. But I think it's gonna be a nice time ahead to get together and think about new things and new ways to go ahead. And
amen to that. Yes, definitely. Thank you all. We're 3 minutes over, so probably everyone else has gone, but it's been a real pleasure hanging out with you, and hopefully I'll see you for Pivo there or in London or somewhere along the way. But thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure. Cheers.